Okay, so on this video, we are going to concentrate on areas of parallelograms. So a blank is a two-dimensional figure with opposite sides parallel and opposite sides the same. So this is a parallelogram. So here, this length is, let me get a different color so you can see it a little better. This length right here is parallel to this one, which is a rectangle, and that stays consistent in a parallelogram. So they're equal. You can kind of see right here where those dotted lines are. That's where it differs from a rectangle, because these lines are actually now slanted in a parallelogram. A blank is a parallelogram with 4 equal sides. So this is a rectangle. This should not say trapezoid, and I think it believes it says trapezoid before we get to the next problem too. Sorry, this is parallelogram, because that's what we're talking about. So parallelogram is the product of its base and height, just like a rectangle. So it's going to have the exact same formula as a rectangle. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So here we see a parallelogram, and we're going to have the same exact steps. The first step is going to be to write the formula. Write formula. Okay, so I just said that it's the same formula as a rectangle's area. And so when we're given a problem like this and it gives it to us on a graph, we are going to count the units, which means each square is equivalent to 1 unit. So going from this corner to here, that is 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, 5 units, and 6 units. So the base is 6 units long. So for the height of a parallelogram, if you notice, if I were to go along this side right here, I would be going at a diagonal. So this isn't a full, see how that's not a little tiny part of the circle. This is half of the circle. Half of the square. Like, it's just not accurate. Whenever you go get your height taken at the doctor's office, you don't stand at a slant, which is why you have this dotted line right here. So this dotted line is actually your height. So let's count it. 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units tall. Okay, so then your second step would be to plug in. So then area equals, your base was 6, so instead of B, we're going to write 6. And your height is 8. So instead of H, we're going to write 8. Step 3 is to solve. We should know that 6 times 8 equals 48. And then step 4 is your answer. Okay, so then area equals 48. Here we don't have a measurement like centimeters, inches, so we're going to just write units squared. Okay, so let's try that again. Here we have our formula, step 1. Remember, we always write A equals. We are not lazy and just write BH. It's A equals BH. Base is that line that goes horizontal. So this is our base right here. Okay, and then height. So we have 2 lines. We have this line right here, and we have this line right here. Which one do you think is the height of this parallelogram? 11.7 or 13? If you said 11.7, you are correct. This 13 is a slant. We do not use slants for height. So 11.7 is our height. So now we can plug in. A equals, instead of B, we're going to write 20.8 times your height. Instead of H, we're going to write 11.7. Okay, so at this point, I want you to solve this and find your answer. I'm actually going to solve on my paper off to the side, and then I will write my answer here, just so you know. Okay, so that's 2 numbers to the right of the decimal. Okay, so go ahead and solve and then write your answer for your area. Okay, so you should have gotten that area equals 243.36 centimeters squared. Okay, and then don't forget to box your answer. So here is a different type of problem. 7 and 8 are different because in 7 and 8, they actually give you your answer. They give you your area, and then in this case, it's 45 inches squared. And so you could be asked to do this in a rectangle. You could be asked to do this in a square. If you are asked to do this in a square, then we would probably use A equals BH, just so you know. Because that's a lot easier than finding square root. But they gave you area. So in this case, we have to find your height. So if you notice, there's no height right there. So it says find the missing dimension. What are we solving for? The height. Okay, so our step 1 is still the same. We're still going to write our formula here. A equals, so this is the hardest concept because I keep saying you're going to write A equals, you're going to write A equals, and then in these kind of problems, you're not going to write A equals on the plug-in. And so then don't write plug-in, but then don't write this down. So if we notice, A is 45. So would it make sense to write A equals if we know what A is? So what I get often is 45 BH. Well, that's 1, 2, 3 numbers right here. This formula only has 2 numbers. So where did this 45 come from? That makes no sense. Because we plug in exactly like how the formula looks. And so there should be only 2 numbers to the right side of the equal sign. So where does A go? Where does 45 go? Well, right here. So instead of writing A, we're going to write 45 equals. So in this case, to solve this problem, it's not just simple multiplication. We're going to actually have to find the inverse operation. Still simple, but a different type of step. So instead of B, here is your base of 9. So we're going to write 9. And then do we know H? No, H is what we're looking for. So we have to write H down because we don't know what it is. So here I have 45 equals 9H. So in this case, I need to do the inverse operation. What does 9H mean? What is that? That is multiplication. So what is the inverse operation to multiplication? That is to divide. So let's write our division signs on both sides of the equal sign. What are we dividing by? We are dividing by the number that is next to the variable, which happens to be 9. Okay, 9 divided by 9 is 1, and 1 times H is just H. And then we should know, so this is us solving. Okay, we just happen to be solving in our plug-in. We should know what 45 divided by 9 is, and that is 5. Okay, so then step 4 is your answer. So we're going to write this a little more formal than that. So H equals 5 inches. Do I need to write inches squared on this problem? No, because the only time we write squared is when we're solving for area. Here we just solved for H. So then we are good. And so you can plug it in to check your answer. So checking answer. So we have this formula of A equals BH. And so we said that area is 45 and that your base is 9 and your height we just solved is 5, right? So we're going to write 5 times 4, which is 45. And does 45 equal 45? Yes. So to check your answer here, we just plugged into the formula. Okay. So then next problem is the same type of problem. So here they give you area, and if you notice, this is that straight line, so that is your height, which means we're missing our base. And they gave you your answer of your area. So we're going to write our formula. A equals base times height. We plug in. Okay, so I want you to press pause and plug in for me, and then press play when you finished your plug-in. Okay, so you should have gotten area. This is A right here, so instead of A, we're going to write 48 equals. And then correct yours if you didn't do that. And then we don't know what base is, and we do know that the height is 6. So this is what your plug-in should look like. I would even take this 48 equals 6b if you did it that way too. Okay, so then here we have our last step, which is to solve. So b times 6 is multiplication, so our inverse operation would be to divide on both sides. 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 1 times b is just b. Okay, and then 48 divided by 6, notice we used easy numbers here so that we can get the concepts and not worry about the math. 48 divided by 6 is 8. And by math, I mean the arithmetic there. Okay, and so then we have our final step, which is B equals 8 meters. All right, that is it. Make sure you take a picture of the front and back and submit, and let me know if you have any questions.